So if you've ever had problems with private parking operators chasing you for charges, if you are having problems with them now, this is probably going to be the most valuable video you've watched on the topic, which comes from real experience, my experience in dealing with these goons and how I managed to usually get rid of them. And this has been effective for me virtually every single time in the last few years. And it's what I call the pre-litigation action pack. And they don't normally come back and say, okay, we're cancelling your ticket, but usually they go away and you never hear from them again, and that's the result you want. So this specifically refers to private parking operators. I'm not talking about penalty charge notices that usually come from councils or local authorities. This is from private parking. So if you parked in a supermarket, shopping center, or in a mall, or in a hospital, or even sometimes residential, like gated communities, and you suddenly got a ticket and you're like, what the hell, where does this come from? And they really are usually very aggressive at chasing you for the debt, lots of threatening letters and all that. But with this one tactic, you are going to throw a massive fly in their ointment and stop them in their tracks, usually. I'm not saying this is legal advice. I'm not saying it's going to work, in every single case, but it works for me like a treat every single time. And it's what I call the pre-litigation request pack. So you're not being aggressive with them. You're not being shouty. This is what people do. They get on the phone. They shout at them. They threaten, I'll sue you and all that stuff. And that actually weakens your case. It's not the right thing to do. And I'll tell you what else is not the right thing to do is ignoring them. Because if you ignore them, they can quietly and quickly issue a claim, and you have no leg to stand on because you haven't really engaged with them or disputed the debt or nothing. So the judge is going to say, this is open and shut case, you pay up, they win. And to be honest, most people, if you look at the numbers, most people don't even respond to claims by private parking companies. I'm sure a lot of you have received one of these letters similar to the one on the screen, threatening letter demanding that if you don't pay something, this is going to happen to you. And what you do is very, very simple. You send a letter that I'm going to share below this video. There will be a link where you can go and give some information, and it builds a similar custom letter for your case. Just need to provide some information about your particular challenge. And what this letter does is it puts the onus back on them. The ball now is in their court. You are asking them for a series of documents and disclosures so that you have a better understanding of their case, because it's fair enough if they're going to take you, sue you or something and put a claim against you, then the least they can do is provide you with all the information. So these things include things like disclosures about how they got your details from the DVLA and the signage, and if they have authority to charge for penalties on the site you were fined in. All that stuff is requested in this letter. And the benefits of this, and this is why they really, really hate it, and it really slows down everything for them, because these private parking companies work on volume and scale. They are counting that if they issue 100 tickets, 95 people are just going to pay up quietly. And of the 5 people that put up some sort of a fight, 4 of them are eventually going to quickly give up and pay up the higher fee. And maybe one of them is really going to fight them all the way to court. And in terms of numbers, that's worth it for them. But what they're not going to do is, if they detect that you are going to cost them more in work than the ticket is worth, they usually back off. Not in every single case, but they usually back off. So this letter basically does a few things that completely grinds their momentum to a halt. And the first thing is, it literally freezes their momentum. It signals to them that you are informed and you're not going to be an easy default judgment. So default judgment is what they absolutely love. And basically a default judgment is when they make a claim and the person they claim against, the motorist, doesn't even show up, doesn't even respond to the claim. And that's a default judgment. That's the easiest case for them to win. And the second thing it does is it forces disclosure. So you are forcing them to reveal their evidence. Not just threats, you're forcing them, you're asking them, guys, you're threatening to put in a claim against me. I need to see your evidence so that I can have a better understanding of what your claim is all about. And the letter I'm going to share below this video gives them a list of all the evidence they need to provide and all the disclosures they need to provide to you. And the third thing it does is it exposes weak cases. Believe it or not, a lot of these private parking companies, even the contract that empowers them to be able to charge people who park on a specific piece of land, even that contract is either out of date, or it's not properly being drafted, or it's got holes in it. So some of them don't even have legal standing to be able to give you that ticket in the first place. And this sort of disclosure exposes that. So it exposes things like missing contracts, signage flaws, something called puffer compliance. All that is exposed with this disclosure request. And another thing it does is it creates a paper trail. So now it's on paper that if this goes to a claim and a judge looks at it, the judge can see that, yep, the motorist has requested all this information from you to understand your claim. Have you provided this information? And if the answer is no, and usually the answer is no, because they're not going to do all this paperwork for a £100 ticket. The work is worth more than £100, so then there's no incentive for them to engage with this. And if the answer is no, the judge is going to say then you have no claim, dismissed. And sometimes the judge can award costs against them as well, which is a risk they take. Another thing it does is it triggers compliance deadlines. So one of the things that you claim in this letter is something called a subject access request, which has a 1-month deadline. So the pressure is on them that they have to comply within 1 month. And here is what you find. You find that as soon as you send this, they either go very quiet, you never hear from them again, because you're asking them to do so much work. It's not worth it for them, because these companies operate on volume. They're not going to invest 8 to 10 man hours digging up all the paperwork and all the evidence and all the logs that you've asked for. It's easier for them to move to someone else. So it does definitely deter speculative claims, and it strengthens your defense, because you are fully informed that if this ever goes to an actual claim, you have all the paperwork and all the evidence. Any defect in their claim, any hole, anything missing is going to completely collapse their case. And another thing that judges like, it shows reasonableness from your side, because you are seeking information to understand their claim. And it's really important you phrase or you present this as you trying to understand their claim better. It shouldn't be that, I'm going to send you this so that I thwart your case. It should be, I'm sending you this so that I have more information to understand your claim better. And this is something judges like, someone who is reasonable. So what should a pre-litigation pack, this is what it's called, pre-litigation pack request, contain? It should contain the confirmation of legal basis. So basically, do they have a contract to give people tickets on the piece of land in question? So if it was, like, for example, I got a private parking ticket in April 2025 in a hotel car park, a hotel I was guest in, which is outrageous. And one of the things I've asked this company for, I need to see the contract between you and the landlord, the hotel owner, that authorizes you to give me a ticket. And surprise, surprise, I've never heard from them since. Another thing you should contain is a copy of the original parking charge notice. To be honest, this one you probably have this already. They probably stuck it to your car or put it through the post. A full breakdown of the money they claim. So they're allowed to charge for the amount displayed on their signage. So if you walk into a car park, private car park, and it says, okay, if you break our terms and conditions, you'll be fined £100. Then if they later increase the amount to say £170, they have to really justify that extra £70. They have to show it's not a figure they pulled out of their backside, and it's a figure that is actually based on work done. So they have to say yep, we've done this amount of paperwork. We had to send you these emails and letters. The letters cost this. Somebody had to work on these letters for X number of hours. This is their wage, hourly rate, and this is how much that costs, and basically justify it item per item. And this is another thing they really hate, just more work for them. And another thing it should contain is signage evidence. So photos and maps of where the signs are, the size of the signs, the wording on the signs, all that is required. And evidence of driver liability. So did you confirm to them you were the driver? And by the way, when it comes to private parking companies, you are not obliged to confirm who the driver was. You can only confirm that you were the keeper. Another thing the pre-litigation pack should contain is timeline of events, copies of any appeals or correspondence as well. But these are kind of secondary, because if you appealed before it got to this stage, then the documents will be there. And what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to engage with you. When you send this letter, they're supposed to engage with this letter. And in my experience, that does not happen. And here is what they do. So things I've had is they'll email you, especially if you include a subject access request as well. So, and you should actually, subject access request is a must if you're going to send this pre-litigation pack. So what they usually say is, in my experience anyway, is number one, they will completely ignore the pre-litigation pack or the things you've asked for, and they will just go about something else, saying that, you have to send this letter signed. It's not signed properly, or you have to send it to a different department because we don't deal with this here. They will try and frustrate you by getting you to send letters to multiple places, make sure it's signed. We don't accept things by email, or they will kind of engage with the letter, but it will be very surface level. They're not really going to provide everything you ask for. And all you have to say then is just say that you provided me with this, but all these are missing. And until you respond properly to my request, I'm afraid I can't really proceed with any. I don't understand the depth enough to either to decide if I should pay or not. So they're stuck in a kind of a pincer movement. It's like, if they provide all the information you requested, it's going to be so much work, and the work is going to be more than the ticket is worth. And if they don't supply the information you requested, they're not going to be able to issue a claim, because the judge is going to say, well, why didn't you give this person the information they requested before issuing a claim? So they're stuck. They go this way, they lose. They go that way, they lose. There's a third option, which honestly, I've never had this, that a private parking company provides all the information you requested in full. Then I think most likely they might end up issuing a claim, and then it's just going to be a bear fight in front of a judge and see who wins. But honestly, I have never had that, because it just makes no sense for them. They're not going to spend all this time and effort to dig up all this information and evidence for you for a ticket that is worth £100. It doesn't make any sense. So the software I use to draft all my letters is called Defense, and the link is below the video. It's really easy to use. You just plug in the information about your particular ticket. You confirm the stage of the ticket. Usually it should be at depth stage. Usually you should have run out, like you've run out of appeals by now. And then the app generates the letter for you that includes everything that you should ask for. I mean, you can remember all the things you should ask for yourself and type it yourself, but to be honest, it's really long-winded. So yeah, use the app. It's below this video, and just wait for them, and just watch out that when you send them the letter, they're going to try and get out of it by saying that, yeah, we don't need to do this, and it's absolute rubbish. They need to provide you with this information, otherwise they'll be stupid to issue a claim without this. So yeah, you got them by the shirt and curlies, I think.